Ari Aster's BEAU is Afraid is easily one of the trippiest films you can see in theaters right now, and for my money, I think it's one of the best films released this year so far. But BEAU is Afraid is not immune to criticism, so I'm going to probe all of the negative letterboxd reviews and try to figure out why so many people hate this movie. I've never wanted a movie to end so badly. So does this mean you thought the movie was too long, or you just hated what the narrative was doing? I need more information. Insipid, a waste of 3 hours of valuable phone time. For one thing, the definition of insipid is something that lacks flavor, so I would suggest that you stop rating films by licking the screen. But for another thing, thank you so much for actually not looking at your phone the whole time. You're the real MVP. Kind of. Straight up hid in the bathroom, more like Ingrid is afraid. Then how did you watch the movie? No movie should be this long. And fundamentally, I don't agree with this take. There are some movies that do need to be as long as they are, whether it be 3 hours, 5 hours, or 9 hours. You could even point at the recent John Wick 4 and say that absolutely should not have been 2 hours and 50 minutes long, and I think that's a film where this criticism makes a lot more sense. For BEAU is Afraid, however, while thinking back on the film, I can't think of a single segment that I would personally want removed. It was definitely a movie. Confirmed. Just don't. Just do it. Unfortunately, didn't get to finish this movie because I was kicked out of the cinema within the first 10 minutes for bringing my own food with me. Okay, what the hell did you bring with you in a theater to get kicked out? I have brought in bags of chips before and nothing has happened to me. Did you bring in a full-ass pizza? Perhaps a charcuterie board? What did you do to get kicked out, really? The fuck? I guess we can add this review to the I was confused pile. LOL, so random. Ah, but why was it random? I do think there's more there. I could say 1,000 things, but I won't. Wait for this one to come on streaming. Do not spend money seeing this, LOL. And this is a negative review that I must absolutely disagree with, because you should see BEAU is Afraid in theaters. I had the pleasure of seeing it in an IMAX screen, and my god, the sound design and the sound mixing in this film is so incredible that I cannot imagine watching it on like a flat screen TV with no additional speakers or anything like that. The only reason you should be watching BEAU is Afraid at home is if you have an absolutely monumental home theater setup. If your soundbar costs less than a meal for 4 at McDonald's, please go see BEAU is Afraid in theaters. I hate Floppy Aster so much. I rolled my eyes so many times, die Floppy Aster. This review is just a threat. Not every idea is a good idea. The title of my sex tape. I have no words. Half star for Ari Aster somehow managing to get this made. The audacity of this film is through the roof, so if you're into really audacious movies, you have to go see it. So stressed. And this is actually another reason why I love BEAU is Afraid. So many films are not able to make me just feel anything at all, and so when a film is able to make me feel stressed, that's just an incredible moment for me. But I guess for this person, feeling stressed is not a good thing, which is weird, right? He's got that killer nut. Sort of, but also technically not. I don't really know what to make of this movie, but I think you should subscribe to Cinemateq. I like where this person's head is at. Pretentious and extremely drawn out, don't waste your 3 hours. So yet another hit for the length, although I will push back on this idea that it's pretentious. I feel like there actually is a lot going on underneath the skin of BEAU is Afraid, and it's likely going to need a few viewings and a lot of video essays to tease out exactly what's going on. This is the worst movie ever, and while I don't agree, you know we gotta play the game. So let's see if we can find a movie in Aphrodite Lover's past that is actually worse than BEAU is Afraid. They haven't logged much. Even though I haven't seen it, I'm willing to bet that the sequel to The Mask, Son of the Mask, which you rated 4 stars, is actually worse than BEAU is Afraid. Can't wait for someone to mansplain this to me. Honestly, as soon as someone tries, just shut that shit right the hell down, because I guarantee you no one has fully figured out this movie yet. Not cool enough to pretend this was good. Well, Kevin, that sounds like a you problem. There are gonna be a lot of film students that call this a masterpiece, but instead it is nearly 3 hours of your life that you will never get back. And this to me is just a weird criticism, because you're essentially saying that the people who know and care more about film are going to appreciate it, which kind of just means that it's probably really good anyways. Like, you're complimenting the film, and I don't know if you realize that or not. I wish all men died after finishing. I'm gonna die after I finish life, so you're not wrong. I'm confident that this will win the Palme d'Or because the last 2 winners were just as obnoxious and terrible as this movie. And I'm confident that you don't know what the Palme d'Or is. Do not watch this. It was the most deeply disturbing experience of my life. And I think to a certain degree that that is the point. Ari Aster is ostensibly a horror director, and so he's going to give you a horror-esque film. Even though I wouldn't say Beau is Afraid is explicitly a horror film, it's certainly meant to try to creep you out, disturb you, and stress you out. And so I think it's a little disingenuous to dismiss a film when it's actually just accomplishing everything that it set out to do. Also, when someone tells me that a film is deeply disturbing, that kind of makes me want to watch it more. Hands up in the comments if you agree. Don't quit your day job, Mr. Aster. His day job is directing movies though, so what are you trying to say here? Haven't seen it. I always enjoy seeing this level of pettiness. As someone who has anxiety similar to the main character, don't see this if you're someone with anxiety issues. It actually gave me an anxiety attack and put my mental health progress back years. Pure psychological torture. This is honestly a very good warning for people considering seeing the film if they have anxiety issues. It might be best if you just skip this one. The acting is amazing, the cinematography is amazing, the effects are amazing, the story is shit. I regret not leaving after the first act. Well, I'm glad you didn't, because there's no way you would know if you thought that the story was shit or not unless you stayed for the whole thing. And for me, I don't think the story is shit. You just have to accept that you are getting a lot of this information from a narrator, being Joaquin Phoenix's character, who is both unreliable and being manipulated the entire time. And once you start putting the narrative into that frame, it doesn't become more coherent, but it does become more understandable as to why it's being told in that way. Beau is afraid, Beau is too long, Lucas is confused, Lucas wants 3 hours back, 3 out of 5. Then why did you rate it a half star, Lucas? I left halfway through, and I can appreciate that you didn't like the film and that you wanted to get away from it as quickly as possible. However, I will encourage anyone who is watching this video, please do not rate movies that you have not seen fully. You never know when a movie's gonna be able to pull it all together in the end. I'm not saying that watching Beau is Afraid all the way to the end would have done that for you, but there's a chance. There's a slight chance. There's a 1% chance. There's a very small chance. This movie can suck my balls. Mr. Garrison?
Holy shit, dude.
Film school is canceled. Why? Because all the film students are at the theater watching Beau is Afraid over and over and over again? New incel fuel just dropped. And this is interesting. I hadn't thought about Beau is Afraid as potentially being a film that incels could rally behind. I just don't think that it is. The film is all about the relationship between a mother and a son, and how a mother can manipulate a son in certain ways all throughout his life. Whereas incels are involuntarily celibate because they hate women entirely. All women. Every woman on the planet. So I don't think it's an exact parallel. I feel different. If you feel different coming out of a movie, that's a good thing. The first half had my interest, but what happened? What the fuck did I just watch? And this is a criticism that I've seen pop up quite a few times. A lot of people saying that the first hour was good, the first act was good, and then the film just goes all crazy and weird. But I don't really agree with that. I feel like the film is mostly the same amount of weird throughout the entire picture. It's just that the setting and what the film is doing in particular moments is changing as it goes on. So while at the beginning of the film, when we have Joaquin Phoenix essentially stuck inside his own apartment, which I think is something we can all relate to, especially after living through the pandemic. When we then leave that apartment and start going out into the world, the weirdness for me stayed at about the exact same level. We were just doing weird in different ways and also less relatable ways, such as coming across a forest commune that's putting on a play. That has never happened to me. Beau should be afraid of me, because I'm going to beat his ass after watching this. Why does there always need to be a badass in the reviews? I'm gonna take a 2-week detox from movies after this. You know, that's not a bad idea. It'll give you an opportunity to really think and ponder on the film, all of its themes and everything that went into making it. Good idea. All of you artsy motherfuckers giving this movie 5 stars while trying to interpret what I just spent the last 3 hours of my life watching are part of the problem. Thinking about art and how you personally relate to it, whether it's good or bad, is never a waste of time. Don't watch it on Benadryl. Don't watch it on Benadryl. Don't watch... Okay, they just say don't watch it on Benadryl a lot, which makes a lot of sense. Even I think Joaquin Phoenix came out and said do not watch this film on mushrooms. I don't get it, and that's okay. Beau is Afraid is not a film that is trying to explicitly tell you what its purpose is, what it's trying to do. If you don't get this film, but you want to try to better understand it, maybe watch it again, maybe think about certain sequences, maybe think about how elements of the story and the visuals play against one another, and what you end up with at the end will be the best explanation for you. It may not be what Ari Aster intended, but that's never something that we should be thinking about in the first place. It is not our job as viewers to resurrect the intentions of the director, but instead engage with the piece of art on a personal level. It sounds like people weren't into Beau is Afraid because it was too long and it's a messy, overcomplicated piece of shit. And I would love to hear in the comments if you had a similar experience.